Hi everyone, here's the Book Chemist once again. Today I'm reviewing Disobedience by Naomi Alderman, an ebullient novel of passions and secret dreams germinating under the calm and proper facade of the Orthodox Jewish community in Hendon, North London. The novel is structured around two protagonists, two women called Ronit and Esti, who are in many ways very similar but who somehow ended up living very different lives, and who are brought together at the beginning of the novel by a tragic event that also dredges up memories from their teenage years when they were very close. Disobedience is first and foremost a truly heartfelt novel. I could really perceive the novel's passion, ambivalent though it was, for the topics that it was discussing. I really perceived the novel's frustration at the rigidity of Hendon's stifling environment, but also its nostalgia for the magic of its traditions, and in general its love-hate relationship with this closed and complex world. As somebody who very much loves his hometown, but who also, I hope, has few illusions about its flaws and about its troubled history, I could definitely relate to these feelings and to this passion. And I could definitely relate to the novel's, especially Ronit's, feeling that she could embrace an unambiguous self, that she could either embrace the self that she has fashioned for herself away from Hendon and just forget about it, or else just be the person that she was always supposed to be, the person that she might have become if she'd never left Hendon. Disobedience to me reads very much like a novel about speech and silence, and about the value and the dangers of both. As a independent bisexual woman with a successful career living alone in New York City, Ronit is very different from the majority of the people she grew up with and the people who still live in Hendon. And when she goes back to Hendon at the beginning of the novel, she is clearly possessed by a strong feeling, a strong wish to ruffle some feathers, to make people uncomfortable with the story of her life. It's a very understandable feelings, and by all means some of the scenes where Ronit shocks some of the most conservative members of Hendon's community are quite hilarious and satisfying to read. But Ronit is also mature enough to recognize that this feeling is not really unproblematic and is not entirely noble, and definitely contains a certain harmful tendency. In one of the most significant scenes in the novel, Ronit goes on a long and rambling story where she exaggerates the nature of her lifestyle and her everyday life in New York in order to shock the very conservative guests at a dinner party that she's been invited to. But this speech and the effect that it has on these people does not really leave her feeling triumphant. What she feels is shame, and I'm gonna read from the final paragraph of chapter 5. She said, "I did feel it, shame. They're not bad people, none of them are. Well, maybe the Hartogs, which are the small aside, the novel's villains, if you will. But the Goldfarbs aren't bad people. They're not cruel or unpleasant or malicious. They didn't deserve to have their peaceful Friday night dinner overturned. They didn't deserve me smashing my life straight into theirs. It can't have been right that I did. And if I hadn't? Yeah, that wouldn't have been right either." That's the dilemma Ronit faces. She has to be outspoken about herself and about her life, and she has to defend her own value as a person and the choices she's made. But it's sometimes difficult to do that without making other people feel under attack, or without belittling or dismissing their own beliefs. It's another complex and difficult dynamic that I'm familiar with. I grew up making lots of friends who had different beliefs from mine. In particular, I had lots of friends who held very strong religious beliefs, and it is sometimes difficult to be together and to express your own views, which is a legitimate thing to do, without appearing hostile to other people. The importance, but also the difficulty of having these conversations, of finding this uncomfortable but necessary middle ground, is something that Disobedience is very aware of. And I should mention that for all that this is a novel that touches upon some of the most backwards aspects, perhaps, of the Orthodox Jewish community, it never paints them under a negative light. It never ridicules them, never paints the Orthodox community as quaint or antiquated or just a little bit crazy. There's obviously a strong degree of respect in the presentation of this community, and while the novel also has the courage to speak up about some aspects of this life that, for instance, Ronit disagrees with, it also paints these characters under a fair light, even some of the most traditional ones and the most traditionalists among them. Disobedience felt very much like a book club sort of book to me. There is so much going on in each chapter, and I think different readers will have completely different reactions to the events and to the characters. Some people will really like Ronit or Esti, and some people will find them unbearable. That makes it a very interesting book to discuss, and there is definitely lots going on here, and I had a really great time with the novel. It is, more than anything else, clearly a very passionate but clear-eyed love letter to Hendon and to the Jewish community there. I definitely recommend the novel, and I'd be curious to read more of Naomi Alderman's books. Definitely The Power and her Oxford novel too have been on my radar for a while. I'd had Disobedience on my shelf for years, and so I finally decided to read it before moving to those other books. I really look forward to hearing what you thought of Disobedience and her other novels. Which ones you recommend? Did you enjoy the novel? Maybe you weren't so sure? Let me know in the comment section. As always, and thank you so much for watching the review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting the YouTube channel, and goodbye everybody.